Okay, welcome, Tim. Tim was kind enough to let me use his name on here. So not total anonymity, but uh, thanks for being on, Tim. I really appreciate it. How you doing today?
Doing well, doing well. Appreciate it. Awesome.
Awesome. So we worked together. uh, How long ago was it? Would you say it was what, 4 or 5 months?
Started in September
September.
2023.
Yeah, so September, October,
Yeah.
November, December, January. Yeah, so 5 months. Yeah. So I want people to just kind of hear your story. So if you wouldn't mind starting off, you came to me for pornography, and I'd like you to just kind of explain uh, what was it like, your first exposure? How long did you struggle with it? What was it like having this problem?
Yeah, I mean, first exposure was about 10 years old, so right at there at the average for most kids' exposure. And just struggle with it for the most part, like then from then on. I mean, I did have a few gaps between use, like whether it was like a month or a few months at a time, or even a few years at one point, like just before and during my church mission. And then after I got back from the mission, like so many people do that, like just dove right back into it, unfortunately, just as that way to cope. And it's been used as a way to cope for with various difficult emotions for, all the years that I used it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and how many years would you say you struggled with it?
So I'd say like 20 years, right? Starting at 10 years old,
Yeah.
30 years old now.
Yeah. Okay. So during that 20 years, you having this habit, what did you notice that was causing in your life?
I mean, it caused it caused one of the biggest things was just feeling like I was living two lives, very much pulled in two different directions. I mean, I'm a very spiritual person, and like having a very strong testimony in my faith, belief in God, and know that is the right way for me to live. And at the same time, I've had this pull, like I've had the pull towards pornography and using that as a way to, essentially what it felt like was living two lives. And, that turned into like meeting up with people as well. And so that caused like some difficulty in forming healthy relationships and also just very distracting, right? Because, I mean, time is one of our greatest resources, and having this suck up time and energy meant that I wasn't able to allocate that time and energy to other things, right? And so I feel like that was one of the biggest things that I wanted to get over personally is to have that freedom back and also to have just the mental space freed up for more creative and healthy pursuits.
Yeah. So during this 20 years, when you finally realized you wanted to fix this and maybe wanted to do something to fix it, what did you start trying to fix this on your own? What did you try?
Yeah, so I run the gamut of like things that so many people try. So going to addiction recovery groups, meeting with like therapists and working through like a 12-step program, which 12-step program was fantastic. Like working through that, it's a great way to apply, you know, the power of Jesus Christ in my life. I just felt like there came to a point, I came to a point that I just felt like there wasn't any more progress from like attending those groups. But anyway, I also used like different energy healing modalities. Um, you know, kept a very rigorous, disciplined schedule, focused on my morning and evening routines. I would text into people and say, "Hey, I'm feeling triggered," or I would, use an accountability partner, like all these things that I feel like most people use that are really trying to hit this hard. I just came to a point finally, like I feel like all the things that I have been doing just aren't moving the needle anymore. And so at that point, I didn't really know what to do until I just had a feeling I should reach out to you.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was, I'm actually not remembering if this was you or somebody else that shared this with me when we first started talking. Are you the one that told me that I you were a little bit concerned about the hypnosis, partly because you were listening to some sort of like hypnosis that was sexually related on like YouTube or something like that?
Oh no, that was someone else.
Oh, that was someone else. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
they're like, I don't think this is gonna work good because I'm triggered by the idea of hypnosis because they were like going into trance to do sexual things. So that was anyway, not you. Okay. Um
Mhm.
Okay, so when you first thought of this idea of doing hypnosis to fix this, did you have reservations? What are the thoughts going through your mind, especially when I was making the claim, hey, we can fix this pretty quickly? Because half of my clients are done in one session, like you were. So when I
Mhm.
was saying that to you, what was going through your mind about that or about the hypnosis?
I mean, my thought was like this has to work because like my thought was like if this doesn't work, I don't know what will work. Um, and
Mhm.
also the guarantee you put behind it, like okay, if this guy's gonna back it up at the level he's backing it up, I'm sure there's got to be something to this because he's putting a lot on the line, um, making these claims that this will work. And at first, when I first like made the inquiry, it was more just okay, I'll feel it out, check it out, whatnot, and then I just kept feeling good about it as a direction that I should go, and realize okay, I've already put so much energy into this and so much like expense into this, and all of that's sunk cost at this point. So trying out this, like trying out hypnosis to take care of it, this problem. I mean, I might as well try it.
Right, right. So when you decided to try it, what was your goal? In a totally ideal world, what were you hoping to get out of us working together?
Yeah, the goal was just to, like I mentioned in one of our first conversations, is just absolutely nuke it and obliterate it, right? And because I felt like that was at the time my only option, only solution that I really wanted is like no more like day by day approach to it and like hoping that over, a certain amount of months or years or whatever, it'll kind of fade away. I was at the point that I was thinking like, okay, this just needs to get obliterated right now. Um, and that's what I was hoping for, and that is exactly what happened.
Awesome. So tell us more about what happened when you came in. What was your experience? You know, I got the chair right back here that you sat in. And when we lean you back and we start talking to you, and um, I start asking you questions about the struggle and putting you down in that trance state. What was that experience for you being down in trance and realizing how where you really were and how you were totally conscious and all of that, if you would explain?
Right. I mean, yeah, I was completely conscious of everything that was happening and felt completely peaceful, relaxed, and trusting of the process. And realized, okay, I know there's a process to this, and if I just trust it and relax into it, then I can allow that to work for me. And so that's what I did is just relax into it. And the entire time I just felt that peaceful, trusting feeling of like, okay, this is good, this is right, keep moving forward. And
Was there
and as
anything
you were like
that surprised you?
talking and leading me through it,
Yeah, go
or
ahead.
anything that surprised me,
Yeah, anything that
I,
surprised you or that you didn't expect about what happened?
I wouldn't say anything necessarily surprising. I mean, I read your book before we met to do the hypnosis. So I had like some sort of understanding of what was going to happen. Um, as far as like what did I not expect? I mean, the testing process that you explained was much simpler than I expected. Like the whole process is a lot simpler and more straightforward than I thought it was going to be. And I thought that was awesome because I'm about
Yeah.
keep things simple,
Get to
right?
the point, right?
And that was really cool to see that.
Okay. So anything else that you'd like to share with people about the actual experience of being down in trance, what you felt like, what you figured out, anything specific that you'd like to share about what the issue actually was and the answers that you came up with that solved the problem?
Yeah, I mean, the issue actually was like certain beliefs I held concerning like various childhood experiences and certain emotions that I kept holding on to that I was in certain um it's difficult for me to describe right now, but basically just things that I've been holding on to that weren't conscious or wasn't conscious of. And having the recognition of what that was, you know, the truth will set you free, right? As we say, and seeing the truth of the situation and letting all that go. And also, like, I will definitely say, like, something that's really important for anyone who is concerned about getting into this and just trying it out. I mean, everything was completely voluntary, right? There's nothing involuntary about it. Um, and really just some like relaxing into the process, like letting the hypnosis work for you. Or when I was letting this work for me, I mean, I didn't feel any concern at all because I just felt that peaceful trust in knowing that like everything is voluntary. Everything I'm doing is completely like within my control. I'm conscious of everything. And actually, so going back to your question about surprises, I was surprised about how conscious I was during the experience. Because often when I think about hypnosis in the sense of like you're out of your like you're kind of detached from your mind and whatnot. But I was completely conscious of everything. So um
Yeah.
hopefully that answers your question there.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. Thanks. And so afterwards, in the ensuing hours and days, what did you notice?
And I mean, after like that day and the next day, I felt a huge like opening. I felt like there was a space that really opened up for like good stuff to come in, right? Like I was mentioning earlier on, one of the reasons I wanted to just completely eliminate this problem with pornography is to have that freedom, that mental space, and that's what I felt immediately. It was this massive mental and emotional liberation, um, and also noticed like the pull to um, either look or think about certain things um, had massively diminished and continued to diminish over um, the next few weeks. And I'll say as well, something I noticed as I um, continued like for those next couple weeks was, as you mentioned, when we're doing or after we do hypnosis, there's a little bit of a roller coaster as you learn to like live in that new space.
Mm-hmm.
And that process is really easy to get used to because I mean, if you just don't not over analyze it and just kind of relax into it and just allow it to be, then everything seems to kind of fall into place.
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, we did more recently, we did a session on other things, on anxiety over money and that kind of stuff, and rush and all that. And you're kind of going through the roller coaster part of that now, even, right? Still?
Hmm. Right. That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of interesting how the subconscious is like, all right, let's try on all the new versions of us. What does this look like? And kind of throws us for a loop. But that's what happens when we kind of break the brain and put it back together. It's like, okay, how am I supposed to act now? And it becomes automatic and effortless. So this in the months or so that you've been able to experience the results of what's happened, is there anything else that you'd like to share as far as what you've noticed in comparison to maybe like what all the other people are saying, that you just need to not be alone, you need to be productive. If you get tempted, you need to do all these distraction tools, you need to go do some push-ups, go for a walk, you need to call up your sponsor and talk to someone. Like, I've never acted as an accountability partner to you or any of my clients. So how did you feel about doing this on your own and not having all those other tools?
I mean, what comes to mind to answer that question is, um, like for anyone listening to this, is imagine having that trigger, or like, imagine seeing something, right? Um, and having that trigger come up, and then notice in your mind immediately getting bounced back out, right? That's what the experience has been like since then, is like something that would normally come up as a trigger to act out gets rejected. Like just like you mentioned, like when we're talking about these things is, let's say again, I see something, normally it would be triggering, but instead I can literally feel my mind reject it as a trigger
Right.
and stay in a more peaceful place. So, I mean, I still deal with all the emotions of life and all the crap that comes up. Um,
Yeah.
but the using like pornography as a coping mechanism is no longer something that my brain accepts.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. And what last thoughts, what advice would you give to people who are just hesitating to come in and do the hypnotherapy?
Um, for anyone hesitating, I would say just forget anything you might know about or think you know about hypnosis or hypnotherapy, and also know that there are multiple ways to, like for those who are more spiritual, there are multiple ways to leverage the power of Jesus Christ in your life. There are multiple ways to um, leverage grace and healing and all those things, um, other than just the traditional methods that we often think about. Like there are tools intentionally designed for healing and some that are of higher leverage than others. And so for anyone who's like thinking about just experimenting with it, just give it a shot for something that you are really concerned about, and um, it's always definitely worth exploring at least. Just
Yeah.
try it out.
Good. All right. Just last question. So we cover all our bases. Do you feel like there's any last thoughts that you'd like to leave with anyone who's listening to this about uh, talking to someone to overcome their porn problem, or how easy it actually is, or anything else that you'd like to share with listeners here?
Yes, and what comes to mind is, I mean, everything, like if anyone wants to make a change in anything, it does take 100% commitment. And when I went into this, I was 100% committed to make it work. So for anyone who makes the investment in themselves to, like I was mentioning at the beginning, just nuke this issue, whether it be pornography or anything else, and just wants to like truly obliterate it, come at it with that 100% commitment, and using this tool along with that commitment will work wonders and will be effective for you.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for coming on, Tim. I really appreciate you being on here and sharing your experience. This is really gold for anyone who's looking to overcome their problem. So I really appreciate it. Thanks so much.